requesting Srimati Neha Verma, IFS batch, Uttarakhand Cadre 2005, alumna of IIT Kanpur and IIM Bangalore, presently serving as Director, Energy and Climate Change, Ministry of Steel, to please come and enlighten our audience with her insights via presentation.
Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to everyone to this event, which marks the culmination of our efforts on working towards decarbonization of steel sector. I'll be just giving a very brief overview of what this report, which is going to be released today, holds. Aligning with Honorable PM's 2030 Glasgow commitments and 2070 net zero goals, while trying to balance our ambitious growth targets of 2030 and 2047, also while circumventing the constraints of our legacy capacity up to 2040, as steel plants are long lived, they are capital intensive with long term technology lock in and hence having high emission inertia lock in. Ministry of Steel has already embarked on the journey of decarbonization. Just to give a landscape scenario of the steel industry of India vis-a-vis the world, as you all know, Indian steel sector is the first largest producer of DRI, second largest producer of crude steel and consumer of finished steel, has fifth highest iron reserves, and has been showing 7% CAGR since 2004 while having 7.4% share in global steel production. But this is also the fact that when we compare the emissions, world steel industry contributes about 8% of emissions while Indian is at 10 to 12%. Average emission intensity of world is 1.91 tons of CO2 per ton of crude steel while Indian is 2.54. And the reasons are many. One of them is the scrap usage. It's 31% on an average in the globe, while in India it's only 21%. Natural gas is easily available at a cheaper cost. However, it's a much different scenario in India. Quality of iron ore across the world at many places where the emission intensity is low is high, while India is dealing with a low quality iron ore. And emission intensity of the grid is lower in Western countries, while in India it's quite high. So these are the factors which actually contribute towards a higher emission intensity. And if we just look at this graphic, it just shows that how our intensities are distributed across different production routes. We have highest emission intensity for coal-based DRI, electric arc furnace or induction furnace route. Then we have blast furnace. Natural gas-based route shows almost half the emission intensity. 100% scrap rate route is almost negligible emission intensity, while hydrogen-based DRI electric arc furnace production takes us to near zero emissions. And this is also reflected in the fact the high emissions are also reflected in the fact that how our productions are distributed across the various metallic inputs. Across the world, as we've seen, 31% of the steel has scrap as an input, and 63% has hot metal as an input, and 6% is DRI, which is all only natural gas. And if we look at the India donut, if you see the dark gray colors band, it is 23% of Indian steel is based on coal-based DRI, of which you can correlate with the left-hand side graphic that it is the highest emission intensity producing production route. So this is why our emission intensity is high, and this is what drives us towards forming our strategy towards decarbonization. While talking about Government of India initiatives, there have been a lot of work being done since 2012 when the PAT scheme came. We have worked with NITO, Japan, and UNDP for improving energy efficiency in steel sector. Various policies like National Steel Policy, domestically manufactured iron and steel products policy, steel scrap policy, vehicle recycling policy, etc., vehicle scrapping policy, etc., have been working towards this end. And while the recently launched National Green Hydrogen Mission as well as CCTS scheme shows us a really definite pathway towards decarbonization. I would say in Ministry of Steel also took very concrete step while constituting 14 task forces last year. These task forces covered the whole gamut of decarbonization levers, which can be broadly divided into demand side drivers, supply side push, as well as key enablers. Looking at demand side drivers, one of the very important factor for driving green steel production is developing taxonomy of green steel. Nowhere in the world green steel is defined, and neither so in India. Unless we know what is green steel, how are we going to produce it? How are we going to finance it? How are we going to market it? So this is the question, a pertinent question which ministry is committed to solve this puzzle. Monitoring CO2 emissions is very important because unless we have a set MRE mechanism, how do we benchmark our current emissions as well as how do we know how we are progressing? Demand generation again is equally important policy lever because unless we create a market for green steel at a higher premium, producers may not find the right nudge to produce green steel. So these are the policy accelerators which ministry is already working on. For the supply side push, energy efficiency and renewable energy have been considered as low hanging fruit because the technology is already there. We just have to increase the penetration through infusion of finances as well as developing the right ecosystem and having some policy interventions. So these are the sprints which can take us towards 2030 carbon reduction goals. Process transition from coal-based DRI to gas-based DRI is extremely important. As you have seen, 23% of our production depends on coal DRI. We want to make our industry gas ready. Be it natural gas, be it syngas, or be it hydrogen. So, but the idea is to move from rotary kilns to vertical shaft. Material efficiency encompasses beneficiation, palletization, and increased usage of scrap. Green hydrogen, as you all know, is very, very important lever as it has a potential to reduce the carbon emission to near zero. CCUS is again very important for steel industry because it has been found through our work that at least 50% of emissions cannot be abated in the steel sector without the use of CCUS given our current production routes. Biochar is also emerging as a new field where it can replace fossil fuel-based coal. Key enablers include R&D, finance, international focus, and skill development. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the 14 levers on which ministry has been working with the help of the task forces. We have done comprehensive analysis of all these factors. We have tried to figure out what is the intent scenario, what are the global best practices, what are the challenges we face, and what is the way forward to deal with all of these. And this is what is presented in the report, which we are going to release very soon. While going through this analysis, rigorous deliberations, we figured out the constraints for green steel transition can be divided into 4 buckets of resources, policy, technology, and finance. In resources, we've already seen that low-grade iron ore and coal, low availability of natural gas, low availability of scrap, low grid intensity, and low land availability for RE plants are the constraints. In policy, green steel is not defined. There is no baseline established for emissions yet. No incentive for steel producers to produce low carbon emission steel. And then there are variable policies across different states for RE. Technology, we have seen it's steel industry, a long-term technology lock-in sector. Use of 100% green hydrogen is not established commercially yet anywhere in the world. CCUS, that is carbon capture, utilization, and storage technology, is also not fully matured. CCS potential, that is carbon capture and storage potential, which can take us there, is not established yet in India. Lack of adequate investment in R&D and lack of access to round-the-clock RE, as well as alternate routes of low emission steel making like molten oxide electrolysis, etc., are at low TRL. Finance, we are very capital intensive industry. Cost of green hydrogen is very prohibitive. We have a huge appetite of using hydrogen in blending in blast furnaces as well as gas-based DRI, but it's the economics which doesn't work out. Again, CCUS cost is very, very high. Energy efficiency measures also have entail initial capital cost, although in long run, ROI may be negative, but initially may be positive, but initially there's a high cost. Then high capital investment for captive RE plants, high cost of beneficiation, and of course, the limited availability of green finance are the issues. Ministry of Steel has identified various strategies for transition of the steel sector, and they can be grouped into one is low hanging fruit. What we are targeting is 2030. If we just focus on energy efficiency and renewable energy, we would be easily able to meet at least 12% reduction in the steel sector. Transition to alternate fuels need a concentrated focus, natural gas, green hydrogen, biochar, and also we considered recycled carbon dioxide converted into CO as another potential fuel. Cluster-based approach is more important for SSI industries, secondary steel industries, and hydrogen, biochar, CCS, and syngas are where this approach would greatly benefit. We're also looking at aggregator models for aggregating steel demand, renewable energy demand, natural gas demand, and aggregated finance for SSI. We definitely need different sectoral approaches for SSIs and ISP, and there's a lot more work to be done in R&D. Looking at pathway for net zero transition in India, in short term, our main focus is on energy efficiency, renewable energy, for which I said technology is already there. Maximizing the use of pellet, of course, after beneficiation, and increase use of scrap. So by this, we definitely be able to meet our 2030 short-term targets. Green hydrogen and CCS as well as biochar are very important, but what we are envisioning is that we will be working for pilots till 2030 in these fields, but actual emission reduction through these technologies will come in medium term till 2047. And beyond 2047, we definitely have to look at alternate routes of steel making, like molten oxide electrolysis, or there might be something more which is there yet to come. So this is the emission intensity trajectory for the steel sector as has been worked out together with BEE, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, under CCTS scheme. So we are right now at 2.454, and it is emphasized that by 2030, we would be about 13.4% down to 2.20. So this is how the emission trajectory will look for the steel sector. And we can be, and this target is very easy to meet, and I am sure we will overshoot this target. The major targets for decarbonization of steel sector have already been defined in the in this roadmap in this report, and I'll just skip this. So this is the final roadmap for net zero transition in India, as has been outlined in the report. We are moving slowly by developing policy enablers towards low hanging fruits, and then we will be focusing on pilots of these technologies which are not fully commercially matured yet, like CCUS, green hydrogen, biochar, and then looking towards full-fledged plants running through these technologies. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we present here is in this report is just the beginning of our journey. We still have a long and winding road in front of us. I'm sure with the help of all the stakeholders present in this room, we should be able to meet our targets and fulfill our climate commitments. Thank you so much.